Tensions boiled over on the track at the 2025 Toyota USA Track and Field Outdoor Championships as two of America's top sprinters, Noah Lyles and Bednarek, found themselves not only in a heated race, but in a heated confrontation that shocked fans, commentators, and the global track and field community. It was supposed to be just another epic showdown in the men's 200-meter final, a race already buzzing with anticipation. Both men had a lot on the line. Bednarek, the 26-year-old Olympic silver medalist known for his consistent performances and explosive speed, was determined to claim dominance. Noah Lyles, 28, the reigning world champion in the 200 meters, and the fastest American ever to run that distance, was back on the track after recovering from an ankle injury. Though Lyles had already secured automatic qualification for the 2025 World Championships due to his world title, he still chose to compete. Why? To test his body. To send a message. To remind everyone who really owns the 200-meter crown. As the race began, the tension was palpable. From the starting blocks to the curve, Bednarek held a narrow lead. But in the final strides, Lyles surged forward with his trademark closing speed, overtaking Bednarek in the last moments of the race. What happened next wasn't just a typical finish, it was a statement. Lyles didn't just cross the line, he glanced over at Bednarek as he did so, a bold and unmistakable act of dominance. Commentators instantly picked up on it, calling it a clear gesture of psychological warfare. Bednarek was not impressed. Moments after the race, as emotions ran high and adrenaline surged, Bednarek shoved Lyles in the back. Cameras caught the moment, too. Elite athletes, locked in a stare, exchanging heated words in front of thousands of spectators. The energy was electric, but the respect was clearly fractured. Bednarek, later speaking to media, didn't hold back. He called Lyles' post-finish antics unsportsmanlike and made it clear that, to him, it was about respect. Noah is going to be Noah, he said, his voice tight with frustration. What he said didn't matter, it's just what he did. Unsportsmanlike and I don't deal with that. It's a respect factor. And that wasn't all. Bednarek reminded everyone that in their last encounter, he beat Lyles. Last time we lined it up, I beat him, that's all I can say. Next time we line up, I'm going to win. But respect, rivalry, and ego aren't the only factors at play. Here. Behind the drama lies a long history of competitive tension between these two sprinters. As Lyles and Bednarek continue to battle it out for supremacy on the track, this confrontation may be just the latest chapter in a story that's far from over. As the dust settled from the electric 200-meter final, all eyes turned to the body language between Noah Lyles and Bednarek. What began as a thrilling race quickly morphed into a public spectacle of pride, frustration, and years of tension bubbling to the surface. Immediately after crossing the finish line, Bednarek, clearly riled up by Lyles' post-race stare, retaliated by shoving the world champion in the back. The cameras didn't miss a second. Track officials and fellow athletes stood stunned as the confrontation unfolded. But perhaps the most telling moment came when Bednarek reached out in an apparent attempt to shake Lyles' hand, only for Lyles to hesitate and calmly reply, "I expect my apology," before finally accepting the handshake. That single exchange summed up just how personal this rivalry had become. To the untrained eye, it may have looked like a classic case of two elite athletes letting their emotions get the better of them. But for those following U.S. sprinting closely, this moment was the culmination of a long-simmering feud. These two men aren't just teammates or competitors, they're symbols of two very different approaches to greatness. Lyles, always expressive and flamboyant, wears his confidence like a badge of honor. He's never been shy about his ambitions or his love for showmanship. Bednarek, by contrast, is more restrained, more focused on grit and discipline, less interested in theatrics. And while both men have achieved incredible success, Olympic medals, national titles, global respect, their contrasting styles have often brought them into subtle conflict. In the aftermath of the race, Bednarek didn't mince words when addressing what went down. Speaking to reporters, he made it clear that Lyles' behavior wasn't something he could ignore. "The grand summary is, don't do that to me," he said firmly. "I don't do any of that stuff. I think it's not good character." Right there. But at the end of the day, he won the race, so I've got to give him his props. That moment of honesty revealed just how deeply Bednarek was affected, not just by the loss, but by what he perceived as a lack of respect. And he wasn't finished. Bednarek hinted at deeper issues between the two, cryptically referencing some personal stuff that had yet to be resolved. "He's got my number," Bednarek told the press. "If he wants to call me, he has every chance to do it. But he wants to come out and do that. I think that's funny." It was a jab cloaked in professionalism, a clear sign that this rivalry isn't just about medals and finish times. It's personal. And it's evolving into one of the most compelling storylines in U.S. track and field, with both men set to represent the U.S. at the upcoming World Championships in Tokyo. Fans are left wondering, will this feud ignite a greater performance? Or will it fracture the team spirit that's vital for global competition? To truly understand the weight behind this on-track altercation, one must go back a few years, back to when Noah Lyles and Kenny Bednarek first emerged as two of America's most promising sprinters. From the beginning, their careers seemed destined to cross paths, not just as teammates, but as direct competitors for global dominance in the 200-meter event. Lyles burst onto the scene with charisma and raw talent, quickly making a name for himself with his flashy race finishes and passionate interviews. He wasn't just fast, he had the aura of a showman. He often celebrated before crossing the line, looked into cameras with swagger, and declared his intentions to not only win but to dominate. That confidence earned him fans, critics, and a reputation as the future of American sprinting. Bednarek, on the other hand, carved his path with a different energy, quiet confidence, relentless training, and a more understated demeanor. He didn't seek the spotlight in the same way as Lyles, but his performances spoke volumes. He earned the nickname Kung Fu Kenny for his focused approach and consistent execution. His silver medal finishes at both the Tokyo 2020 Olympics and the 2024 Paris Games cemented him as one of the best in the world. What made the rivalry so compelling was the contrast, personality, style, and public perception. While Lyles chased records and headlines, Bednarek was the workhorse, often underrated but undeniably elite. And though Lyles had the better record overall, Bednarek had managed to beat him in major moments, making their dynamic unpredictable and intense. The 2025 U.S. Championships was never just about a qualifying spot for Tokyo. For Bednarek, it was a chance to once again prove that he could beat the world champion head-to-head. For Lyles, it was about reminding everyone that he was still the king of the 200 meters, even if he didn't need to run the race at all. So, when Lyles chose to compete despite already having an automatic bid to the World Championships, it raised eyebrows. Was it for the love of competition? Was it to get race reps after recovering from his ankle injury? Or was it a strategic move to make a statement and put Bednarek in his place ahead of the world stage? The physical nature of their post-race altercation wasn't just an isolated incident. It was the boiling point of years of build-up, media comparisons, Olympic showdowns, and contrasting ideologies. And though both athletes have remained relatively professional in public, this latest exchange made it clear that their relationship is far from harmonious. In a sport that often struggles for mainstream attention, the tension between Lyles and Bednarek has suddenly become a headline-grabbing narrative. Their rivalry is no longer just about medals. It's a story of ego, pride, respect, and the fine line between competitive fire and personal resentment. With the World Championships just weeks away, the question isn't just who will win gold. It's whether these two can coexist, and what happens when personal tension spills over onto the world's biggest track stage. While fans were still buzzing from the dramatic finish and unexpected scuffle, it became clear that this incident wasn't just a fleeting clash, it was the manifestation of years of built-up tension, fueled by pride, performance, and personal history. And even though tempers cooled in the moments following the handshake, the ripples of their confrontation continued to spread across the track and field world. Social media erupted. Fans quickly took sides, with some defending Lyles' competitive fire, saying he had earned the right to assert himself after a hard-fought comeback from injury. Others criticized the move, calling it cocky and disrespectful, especially since Bednarek had a history of consistently pushing Lyles to the limit. Meanwhile, supporters of Bednarek praised him for demanding respect and standing his ground, while others accused him of overreacting and letting emotion cloud professionalism. The debate extended to former athletes and commentators too. Some praised the intensity and drama, arguing that rivalries like this are good for the sport, which often struggles to capture attention outside of the Olympic season. Others expressed concern that personal grudges and unsportsmanlike conduct could tarnish the legacy of these elite runners. But one thing was clear: both athletes now carried more than just physical expectations into the World Championships. The emotional stakes were sky-high. Not only would they be representing Team USA on a global stage, but every look, every gesture, every stride would be analyzed as a continuation of their rivalry. Would Bednarek finally get his gold? Would Lyles silence his critics and dominate again? And could either one afford to let personal conflict affect their performance? Meanwhile, Lyles remained mostly silent about the incident. Perhaps choosing to let his race results speak louder than his words, he made no further comment to the press, staying focused on preparation. His team shared that he had resumed full training and was concentrating on both the 100m and 200m events. For the World Championships, aiming to become the first man since Usain Bolt to pull off a global sprint double. Bednarek, on the other hand, maintained a firm but diplomatic stance. In multiple interviews, he emphasized that there was nothing personal anymore, suggesting that while he didn't appreciate the showboating, he was willing to move past it, for now. "We're grown men," he said in one interview. At the end of the day, it's about representing the country and showing up when it matters. "I'll let my legs do the talking." And so, the stage is set, not just for a 200-meter final, but for a clash of titans with deeply personal undertones. The anticipation is electric. Fans and commentators alike are waiting for the moment when Lyles and Bednarek step onto the track. Again, two elite athletes, fueled by competition, respect, rivalry, and maybe even a little bit of unresolved anger, because in track and field, time doesn't lie. And no matter what's said off the track, it's those final hundredths of a second that will decide the true champion, and who walks away with more than just a medal, but perhaps vindication.